sound has begun. Oh, you the other one.
Welcome to the Louisa Project 2027, where we discuss education, entrepreneurship, and innovation. Today, we're going to be interviewing Mr. Jesse T. Smith. He's a candidate for the 3rd District of Alabama, Congressional District of Alabama, and we're going to discuss education. We're going to discuss a little bit about education nationally, and we're also going to discuss education locally and statewide. I guess that's it. I'll let Mr. Smith introduce himself, and we'll go from there. Mr. Smith, if you don't mind.
Hello. How are you?
Good. How are you?
I'm well. Thank you for having me on.
Yeah, it's my pleasure. Absolutely my pleasure. So let's tell the folks a little bit about yourself.
Okay. Well, I like to call myself just the common guy, just average individual. Served 14 years in the military. Did a couple combat tours in Iraq. A couple combat tours in Bosnia as well. So I have a love for the public service and serving my country. So, you know, I'm married to a Army captain. Her name is Carla Smith.
Okay.
I love my wife. She's definitely a real warrior in my book.
That's great.
We have 5 kids, and 2 of our kids are serving in the military as well.
Okay, great. All right, that's great. We got 4 kids myself, but we'll talk about me later. This is about you today, okay? We're talking a little bit about how education is working and not working. So let's start from the very basic foundational principles that guide you on education. All right, what are your rock bottom guiding principles on education?
Well, my rock bottom principles. I believe that education is the foundation of America.
Okay.
Without education, we wouldn't be able to be the most powerful country in the world, you know? And I believe everyone has the right to a K through 12th grade education. And people should also be afforded the opportunity to go to public colleges and universities for free as well.
That's great. All right, because we here at the Louisa Project 2027, we are strongly for everybody getting at least have an opportunity to get an education. Even if you choose not to, go out and get that education, you have the opportunity, and I think that's very important for us we think that's very important for us as a nation, for us to progress, because as you said, that's foundationally, that's how we became a superpower, right? I mean, it's not just how many people we have or the size of the country itself or just the resources in the ground or whatever. It's our education system. That's just really foundational for us. All right. Excuse me. All right. Let's. What sort of benefits do you think education provides the individual?
Oh, well, there are a lot of benefits to individual benefits and collectively, but individually, it creates a well-rounded individual. Education allows for personal growth and achievement, and it gives you something to still strive to accomplish.
Absolutely. Yeah. That's great. All right, so what do you think that how education benefits society? I mean not just, well, I'll let you just take it from there. How do you think education benefits society?
Well, without education, we as the United States of America, as we know it today, would cease to exist.
Absolutely.
It's the single most important aspect of our society, I believe. We can't be competitive in any world market without education.
Yeah, I agree 100%. All right. So I guess we'll start from the bottom. Let's discuss how do you feel the K through 12 system? How do you think how we doing nationally and how we rank globally? How do you think we're faring in that area?
Well, it's funny you mentioned that. I was just talking with a good friend today, and we were talking about the kids are lacking the ability to think critically.
Absolutely.
So when we think about, so when we think about our K through 12 system, we need to fix it. All right. Number one, that's what I believe. We need to fix it. And we used to have the best K through 12 system in the world. And now we're falling behind countries like Slovenia, you know?
Yeah, I saw that. When I saw that, I was like, wow. That amazed me when I saw those numbers. You know, I think we're behind one of the stands, isn't it? Uzbekistan. One of the stands we're behind. I was like, wow. In any event, it's. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
Oh no, I was just going to say, there's no way we can compete and grow our standard of living if we don't fix our K through 12 system.
Agreed. All right. Now, along, how do you feel about the K through 12 system for you locally there in the 3rd District of Alabama? How do you think that's working out? What are your views on that?
Well, that's that's one that's very my views are. It's sad, all right, to think that locally the Alabama Republican Party, they don't fund education in this state. They have the plan to fund prisons. They give teachers very, very small raises, and they increase, when they give them raises, they increase their insurance premiums. So I believe that overall our teachers in this state are definitely disrespected, undervalued, and marginalized. And I believe they deserve a whole lot better. And they should not be the scapegoats for politicians to get political points from.
Yes, I agree 100%. Yeah, teachers are should be much more valued. I used to when one time when I worked in Kuwait, I believe it was, we had a bunch of Indian guys come in, and we had a long talk with one of the guys. We were talking about education, because a lot of the guys were engineers and all kinds of stuff, but because of the economy there just wasn't any money to be made. And he said, in our culture, there's God, teacher, then parents. That's the level of respect teachers get in their culture. And I don't know if we need to go that far, but we definitely have to raise the level of respect we have for teachers, especially as politicians and public servants. But that's an odd point of view for me, but it's just something that crossed my mind. Okay, let's move on to the college system here. Let's talk about nationally. Well, let's go back. What do you think the biggest challenges are in the K-12 system? You mentioned teachers. What do you think the biggest challenges are?
Well, I believe one of the biggest challenges that we face with education is we have to get parents and people in the community involved in children's education. Mm-hmm. I mean, too often we hear stories about parents blaming teachers because their kid didn't get an A. Mm-hmm. And we think about the parents' involvement in that kid's classroom prior to that time. I mean, we could, prevent some of these things. So again, I believe that, our teachers should not be marginalized. They should definitely be paid better. We should invest in education locally and nationally. Mm-hmm. And we should also make sure that these teachers are not scapegoats. Let's encourage parents to really get involved in their child's education.
Absolutely. On our first show that just went out yesterday, I talked about communities being a support system for teachers. We treat the teachers, okay, you teachers are here in our community. It's hard to keep good teachers in certain communities. We need to be a support system for you. And in that regard, it becomes less of an adversarial relationship. Hey, I spoke to your teacher last week. We have regular meetings with the teacher, with you involved or without you involved, when you're talking to your kids. And we have gotten to know this teacher. We become trusting of this teacher. We have a rapport. And now that relationship where the child can play the teacher off the parent is kind of weakened. Not to the point where we completely trust any adult around our children, but at the same time, there's some sort of relationship that's been built, and I think that's very important. Yeah. So let me see, where were we? Challenges, community, the parents not involved. So what do you propose as a solution to that biggest problem, or did you have another challenge that we need to discuss?
I think the solution. I believe we've identified a lot of problems that we have, or we've identified the fact that we have problems.
Yeah, absolutely, and that's half the battle right there. Yeah,
absolutely. Going on with individuals and finding solutions, not band-aids. We need to find solutions to the problem.
Yes. Get to the core of the problems. Absolutely.
Yeah, I was a federal accident investigator for the Defense Department for a few years. And
that fishbone diagram. Okay, I got you.
The root cause analysis.
Absolutely.
So when I think about the solutions and how we could improve K through 12th grade education, I think the two most important things is increasing funding and revamping our curriculum, and moving away from teaching to the tests, and we need to base teaching around problem solving and critical thinking models. And when these kids get into the workplace right now, they face problems, and those problems don't come in the form of multiple choice tests or scantrons,
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
Yeah.
Because that's one of my biggest fears is that the lack of critical thinking for us as a nation. If you're building, you have a generation of kids that don't understand the critical thinking, and for one of the reasons why I became active, in politics and as a progressive was the movement. I guess it started around 2006, 2008. When people started saying that, that critical thinking was wrong. What? Problem solving is wrong? That's not the way you're supposed to do things. Children are supposed to sit down and not solve problems. They're just supposed to answer questions that are spoon fed to them. No, that doesn't make any damn sense to me. Not at all. I'm sorry. I get excited about this stuff. I apologize.
Oh, I like it.
All right, so let's go on. Okay, we discussed a little bit about the K-12. Did you want to say anything else about K-12 before we go on to post-secondary?
No, I think critically analyzing issues and being able to come up with solutions is paramount for our K through 12th grade students.
Yeah, absolutely. I agree. I agree 100%. All right, let's talk about the post-secondary system. Let's talk about college. So how do you think we're faring nationally and on the global stage as far as college is concerned? How we're preparing people for life and for employment and for I guess to become entrepreneurs as well.
Well, I think we have the best post-secondary education system in the world. We have students coming from all around the world to train at all of these colleges across our country. However, the cost of college is just getting out of control.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, that's it. That is one big issue that has to be fixed. If we free college, man, I wish we could do that. I had a discussion, one of the many discussions I have with the conservatives that I work with. We had a discussion. One of the guys said, that 4 years of college is out of the question. I said, you got to think about it. 4 years is an opening bid. Somebody like Bernie, he's been in Congress long enough to know that nothing goes into that process. Nothing comes out of that process unscathed.
Yeah.
If I want 2, I gotta ask for 4. you know, and we'll work from there, you know. And I think the opening, if we end up with everybody getting free community college, oh, that's a huge start.
Yes.
It's a huge start. And I think that's an acceptable outcome, at least for the short term or short and medium term. That's an acceptable outcome. And I think in Tennessee's doing it. I've been meaning to get somebody, contact somebody in Tennessee to talk about their free community college system or free 2-year college system. And they have the technical schools there too. But I really want to know how that's working out for them. I'm sorry. Yeah. I get excited. I'm sorry.
No worries at all. I mean,
yeah. All right. So, like you said, we for the longest time we've been the model for education for many years now for post-secondary education. Our elite schools are still the best in the world, and our state schools, and many are really, really good. So what about I know I generally know where your district is. So how do you think your local colleges are faring?
Well, they are faring some great universities in this area.
Mm-hmm.
You know, we have Auburn University, we have Jacksonville State University,
Mm-hmm.
Tuskegee University, Talladega College. There's a Southern Union Community College. There are a lot of, you know, top tier colleges and universities in this state. But one thing about that is, you know, that the average student comes out of college with a debt of about $37K.
Yeah. That one. When you tell people, you know, about free college and they say, well, it builds character. I said, why would you want your child to have that kind of debt just starting their life? You know, that even if they take that money and just stick it in the bank, that could be their first home, a condominium. They can start building wealth as opposed to starting off in a hole. It just doesn't make sense to me to fight this. But again, we're progressive, so we see the world a little differently. Boy, do we see the world differently.
Man.
All right. All right. So what sort of challenges do you see for our education system as far as college is concerned? Nationally, let's start off nationally.
Well, I think that our students are really not prepared academically. Mm-hmm. Again, because we've allowed K through 12 to get so bad.
Yes.
You know, there was a recent study that showed that, you know, American millennials are the most educated, yet they're the dumbest generation alive. I mean, you know, and that's based on that study. And this can only happen when we stop educating our children. I bet you right now, any person 18 years or older can tell you who Kim Kardashian is.
Sadly so, yeah.
But, you know, how many can tell you who John Roberts is?
Yeah,
you know?
The Supreme. Well, some of us want to forget the Supreme Court. I mean, that's important. Some of us want to forget about it, but it's okay. It's okay.
And the other problem again is the cost.
Mm-hmm.
You know, we're putting our kids, you know, 10 years behind when they come out of college with that type of debt. I mean, and this just kills our economy.
Yeah, absolutely. It just tipped over to $1.3 trillion across. Overall in the country in college debt. What could that do for our economy? What could that do for individuals and families? That letting that money loose in the country into the economy. It's mind-boggling. Those types of numbers, and it's, you know, obviously it's only and it just continues to increase.
Yes.
You know,
yes.
And this is debt you can't discharge. You can't bankrupt your way out of this debt. You have to literally die to get out from under this debt. You know, luckily for not for Stafford loans, but for other types of government-backed loans, you know, government is talking. The Department of Education is letting people pay based on their income, which is based on discretionary income. So that's a big improvement, but that was well overdue. Yeah. All right. So So okay, locally, what kind of challenges do you see locally? Is it all the same, or what kind of challenges do you see for your local colleges?
Well, again, when you think about the fact that, we have a complete Republican congressional delegation, basically, that they don't believe in a federal Department of Education. So there's a lot of support. There's a lot of grants and funding that could be brought to colleges right here in the state of Alabama if we had the individuals in office who actually wanted to prevent our students from going into a lifelong debt.
Yeah.
So, I believe, people have a responsibility, but the politicians are responsible. People
Absolutely.
have the responsibility of holding the elected officials accountable to ensuring that they can put forth the programs to meet the demands of the 21st century. And that's what we have to hold them to.
Yes. And what's, my wife works in human resources, and she often talks about, she deals with the local community college on occasion, Calhoun Community College, which is one of the top 50 community colleges in the country. I didn't even know that. And she was telling me that the community college system in Alabama is shifting towards working with the local community and finding out the needs of local businesses and gearing their programs to fill the needs of local businesses, which is great, right? For a job immediately, and that's great. But I think we're missing something. We're missing the creative piece, right? I mean, even on the business side, right? How are we supporting these people that maybe don't want to go into a regular job and they want to build their own business? I think we're really missing the boat there. I mean, I think there's people out there that have, maybe an associate's degree, maybe even just a certificate, that may have a great idea for a business, and they're not able to take advantage of it because they can't get loans. There's just so many things blocking them from going forward with whatever plan they had in mind. And we're missing, I don't know, I don't even know the numbers. If we just had some idea of how many people that are just left behind, like for instance, I looked at the numbers for Alabama, and it is what, now I got to do the math on my head. I wrote it down somewhere. Now I got to do the math on my head, but it's like 15. Was it 40 or 36% of people in Alabama have a associate's degree or have something above have a certificate or a degree above high school. That's a huge swath of people who can't start their own business, who aren't eligible for decent jobs. I don't understand how people can just leave these people behind. I understand race is a factor. I understand class is a factor, but leaving human beings behind shouldn't be acceptable. They should at least offer opportunities. What do you think about that?
Well, that is the driving force behind all of the problems that we have, whether it be race relations, poverty. We have to give people an opportunity to rise above that. And again, that culture has to be established. That is not a culture that we have right now. We have to have individuals who are willing to partner, again, with people in the community. Now, let me tell you, when my son was first started kindergarten, his kindergarten, first and second grade, I volunteered at the school on a consistent basis because I wanted to know what's actually going on with my kid.
Yeah, absolutely.
And again, that's when I really realized that there are people who are suffering, whether they're veterans, there are people who are suffering, whether they're senior citizens, but a group of individuals that are suffering and people ignore it are children. They're suffering at all different levels from every issue that's out there. A child is attached to the other end of it, and they're suffering. And, you know, it's something that I definitely want to fight against.
Yeah, and I agree 100%. We've gotten to the point where society, much of our society doesn't view children as our children. They view children as, you know, that's somebody else's problem. They shouldn't have made them. They couldn't afford it. You know, forgetting that we just went through the worst crash in the modern era. You know, that people got hurt really bad in that crash, real human beings. And as you said, and the bulk of them are probably children. You know, but nobody. Whoo, boy. All right. I'm gonna move on. This stuff that just frustrates me. I was looking at the Alabama stats for college for post-secondary attainment, and they went from 33.6% in 2013 to 2014, which is the most recent numbers. They went to 36.7%, but they went to 36.7% because they added certificates. Post-secondary, but less than associate's degree type certificates. That was the 3% they added. So they actually went up 0.1% from 13 to 14. What do you think? What do you think could help increase that number?
Availability.
Mm-hmm.
And you know, again, if we invest in K through 12th grade education, kids will be prepared. They'll have those critical thinking skills needed to pass the ACT, to pass the essay, and all of these other required tests to get into college. But again, if we're not putting the resources in those classrooms, if we're requiring teachers to use their own funds to teach, you know, we're doing the teachers a disservice. We're doing the kids a disservice. But most importantly, we're doing the United States of America a disservice.
I couldn't have said it better myself. We are actually doing our country a disservice by leaving so many people behind. Number one, it's cruel and immoral, you know, and secondarily, it doesn't serve our country at all. I mean, this is human capital that could be a resource for our nation through our economy, through an industry, through everything. I mean, these kids could be potential teachers, and I like to think that every child has the opportunity to change the world, but as long as we're leaving people behind, they'll never get that opportunity. So anyway, I'm sorry, I get frustrated again. Sorry. Sorry. And I think the sad thing is here, for me, this is my 2 cents, is that Alabama is ripe for being better, right? My mother's from Lowndes County, Alabama, right? My entire family down there in Lowndes County, Alabama, they work 7 days a week. A lot of them are law enforcement. A lot of them are nursing. They work at the local the Kia factory, I think it is down there, and they work during the week. They work their regular hours, and then they do something else, whether it's building houses, repairing cars. It's always, that is something going on 7 days a week. No day gets wasted, right? Imagine if not to say my family's not educated, but imagine if we had a better education system here in Alabama. Can you imagine that work ethic along with education? This state would be unstoppable. That bothers me. That absolutely bothers me. What do you think about that?
Oh, you know, I couldn't have said that better. When you know, again, I look at it. I like to look at it from terms of, you know, what we've done as the United States of America for other countries.
Yes.
What we've spent, you know, our federal tax dollars for, and we're not willing to provide that exact same opportunity right here in the land of the free. Well, contrary, I'm going to fight for that, because, you know, again,
as we all should. Yes.
Yeah. To watch, you know, a new school go up in Iraq, and to come home and to see that we have schools that are falling apart. I have a problem with that.
Yeah.
You know,
and we all should. My goodness, we all should. Yeah, I think there's a lot of areas where we're failing, and I think education is. I mean, that's why we started this program. I think education is one of the big ones. And I read a study. It was a while back. Let me stop lying. I read an article about a study. It was about how parents with an education are more likely to help their children become more educated. So I think the free college piece is a big part of helping the K through 12 piece. Obviously, the K through 12 piece is foundational, right? That has to be the biggest part of what we do. But I think those parents who have an opportunity to get that education and come on board, and really get a fresh start in life, will only be better suited to help their children through college. I mean, to help their children through that K through 12 piece. And I think, I don't think there's a downside to free college. Number one, we can afford it. Number two, we need it. And number three, it's the right thing to do. When we decided that K through 12 was going to be free, and that was enough, a high school diploma, you go work at the local factory and you can have a life. You can buy a home, you have a car, you can put your kid through school. That was all possible then, but it's not possible now. Sadly, I think, again, this is me, bad policy sent manufacturing away. Good policy could bring manufacturing back. But again, that's something that I believe. And boy, Alabama's a lonely place when you think like boy, it's a lonely place.
We can change that. I think we can change that.
Yeah, I think we can too. And that's the crazy part. Once you get past all the jingoism, we'll call it, people, once you get past it, no, do you want your child to start off their life with that kind of debt? Regardless of what, you call yourself a conservative, Tea Party, or whatever it is, that's your child. Do you want your child to start off with that kind of debt? That's the questions. Those are the questions that people need to ask themselves. I mean, and really do some soul searching. It's not about somebody getting more than you. Yeah, okay, yeah. It was a different time. You had to pay for school. Oh well, get over it. Now this new generation is not going to have to pay for school, and our country's going to be better for it. Get over it, And I think if I don't know. Again, I'm getting frustrated. I'm sorry. I'm so sorry. I just think we could do so much better, especially in a state like Alabama. If Alabama would embrace, even if it's just community colleges like Tennessee's doing, they would be unstoppable. It would be absolutely unstoppable. And all these businesses coming to Alabama, especially here in the Huntsville area around Redstone. Mm-hmm. There's no reason in the world that those organizations should have to import talent. Yeah, you're going to have to bring some veterans in because of the knowledge and skills. But there's a lot of people here who can do those jobs that they may not have military experience. But you shouldn't have to import that from out of state. All that is here. All that is here. Yeah, I'm sorry. I get kind of wound up about this stuff. Let me make sure we covered everything.
It's good.
Yeah. Sometimes it's good. You got to start taking some blood pressure pills or something. All right, so we talked about some of the challenges for colleges. So, what do you propose for solutions for colleges? What do you think we could do better for colleges?
Well, I support Bernie Sanders' plan, free college tuition. Again, if other countries can do it, then we can do it. I'm not advocating for everyone getting a college degree because, of course, you have to do the work. If you can't do the work, you're not going to get a degree. But at least, like you mentioned, we're giving these adults and young adults an opportunity to either get a college degree or further their education in some type of certification.
Absolutely.
I also believe we should forgive the federal student loan debt. That $1.3 trillion you're talking about. There's no reason our government should be profiting off of young people. If we think about
that hurts my feelings.
Yeah.
You were saying, I'm sorry.
Oh, well, forgiving the student loan debt, just think about that. Many people who are 22 to 35 years old, they would be able to purchase their first home.
Man, what a boom for construction. That's jobs, 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 jobs.
225 jobs to build one house. So
wow, I didn't know that.
Yes.
Wow, I didn't know that. Man.
So, and that's a part of the triangle of success that we have going on here on our campaign in the 3rd District.
Okay, tell me about the triangle of success. That's interesting.
Well, the triangle of success is very simple. We believe that, we know income has a direct influence on how well a kid does in school.
Absolutely.
Okay, so we're talking about raising the wages. Number 2, we have a training program, training citizens in the communities to be able to do those jobs that it'll take to rebuild our infrastructure, which is
that's a big one.
The third part of that triangle. We can definitely utilize the free college tuition at the community college level to begin to teach people all of the different trades and skills, again, that they'll need to rebuild these roads, schools, and bridges.
I remember when in 2008, when President Obama got in office, and we were talking about, and the big talk was infrastructure's coming, and and I was because I'm a late bloomer. I finished my degree in 2011, my bachelor's degree in 2011, I think it was, and I one of the options was construction management because this was such a big deal. Obviously things got frozen in Congress. Headache for another day. Talk about frustration. So that's and then that's such a big thing that we're missing. Those green jobs. My wife used to work for a gentleman named Stan Mitchell. He's a facilities management guru overseas. Okay. And he was talking about he often talked about facilities, green facilities management is what he called it. So you're managing facilities with an eye to the future, an eye to the environment. And that's a piece that's missing from the way we do things around here. I mean, there's just so many things lessons that we could take from our friends, and maybe some lessons from our enemies, as long as it's helping us. Just let's take these ideas and run with them. We have to, and because I think we so many ideas, so much human capital, so much ingenuity is just basically laying on the ground, waiting for us to pick it up as a nation. And we're failing to do so. Okay. All right. I'm ranting again. I'm so sorry. All right. So last question. King for a day.
May I throw this last point?
Please.
We were talking about infrastructure rebuilding and school. Okay.
Yes.
There's about 1,200 bridges across the state of Alabama that a school bus can't cross.
1,200. I can write that one down. 1,200.
We think about, we think about infrastructure rebuilding. We think about revitalizing our economy and giving people an opportunity to pursue, the American dream of the 21st century. We have to throw 21st century on there.
We have to, because we got to think about the future. We have to stop doing things the old way. We've got to get beyond it. Absolutely.
Yes.
1,200 bridges that a school bus. Wow. Man, I'm sorry. Oosa. All right, let's get to our last question for this interview. I call it my king for a day question. All right, so you're king for a day. You're a king of America for a day. What are the top 3 solutions you would institute to fix education locally? Okay, you're the king of Alabama for a day. What are you going to fix locally?
Well,
3 solutions.
Number 1, Number one, I would increase funding for schools.
All right.
Number two, I would double the teacher salaries.
Oh yeah, off the bat. Yep.
Off the bat, double.
Yep.
And lastly, I would institute critical thinking as a main teaching point in the curriculum. Absolutely.
That is beautiful. I like that. Man, you're gonna be a good king. That critical thinking piece is everything. That critical thinking piece is everything.
It is.
Yeah, I often, I came up old school. My mother's from Alabama, my father's from Georgia. So, I came up old school. We didn't talk back to our parents. There was no yip yap. There was no but or why, none of that. Right. But we my wife and I, we decided, you know what, we're gonna let our kids off an argument. If they don't agree, speak your mind. You're not always gonna win, but speak your mind. And it forces them to think critically, right? And it's just that little change of, becoming less of a dictatorship. We're still a dictatorship in this house. We become less of a dictatorship, right? So we want them to think critically. If you have a point of view, bring it to me. Okay, let's talk about it. You may win, sometimes sometimes you lose, right? But I want you to think critically about any things that go on in your life. And we're big on leadership. Sometimes you need to question authority. Sometimes you do, and sometimes it shocks. Sometimes I had a teacher call me a couple of months ago. She was shocked that I told our children to question authority if they feel they're being treated unfairly. Now, the police is a different story on occasion, but if you're in a safe situation, and you feel you're being treated unfairly, you should speak up, but be very careful about your surroundings, right? But have the courage to speak up and say what's right, whether it's for you or for someone else. And I mean, that's leadership. That's kindness. That's part of the path to greatness, to my mind, right? Having the courage to speak up. And I think and that's critical thinking is part of that. If you don't have an argument, what are you talking for? Just don't say nothing. You say, I think that the foundation of that is critical thinking. And I think we're really missing out on that. We spend too much time trying to build a workforce as opposed to building a cross section of individuals. Some people aren't meant to be in the workforce. Some people are meant to be artists. Some people are meant to be doctors. Some people are meant to be lawyers. Some people are meant to work in a factory if they choose to do so. Some people are meant to be UPS man. There's space for everyone, but everybody should be able to explore their personal niche. Yeah. But again, that's just me. I'm a little weird. All right. I'm sorry. I just took over your interview. All right. Okay. So, all right, Mr. First Class, Mr. Jesse T. Smith.
Yes.
So, how can people contact you if they want to get in touch with you?
Well, you can get in contact with me at jessesmithforcongress.com. I am on.
Great website, by the way.
Thank you. All volunteer. My campaign staff is an all volunteer staff. We're Great. Trying to run a campaign on the least amount of funds necessary. If we remove the pursuit of money out of the way, we can pursue solutions. We can pursue problem-solving opportunities, and so that's what we're looking for. And again, I'm on Facebook at facebook.com/Jesse Smith for Congress, and I'm on Twitter at JT4 Congress 2016.
Okay. All right. So, future plans to look out for. What are you doing in the future? I mean, I understand you're running for Congress, but please.
Well, yeah. This weekend actually, we're having an event here in Pell City. They're having a block party, and from 5 to 10 p.m. we're going to be there. We're going to have a good time and walk around, meet people.
Saturday or Sunday?
That's Saturday.
Oh, okay.
He's coming Saturday.
I was going to come on down, but yeah, let's stay in touch. Let's stay in touch.
Let's definitely do that. We're pretty close to each other, I believe.
Yeah, there's no excuse for me not to come down and at least help out a little bit.
Hey, maybe I can come to you, and we can do a show in the studio.
Wait, studio, yeah, in my living room, yeah. But let's do that though.
Well,
let's do that. Studio's a studio, yeah.
We have to take the media and turn it into what we want it to be.
Absolutely. I agree 100%. Let's talk about that. Absolutely talk about that.
Great.
Right. All right. So, are there any other progressives in Alabama that you're in touch with, or progressives that you think would want to come and talk about education?
Well, a gentleman that's running for the Senate in the state of Alabama, Ron Crumpton.
Okay.
I'm not sure if you know about Ron.
No, nothing about Ron.
Yeah, he's challenging Senator Shelby. I know Ron fairly well. I think he's
that is an uphill battle trying to beat Shelby. Yeah, but somebody's got to fight. Absolutely.
I like him because he's fighting.
Yeah, and that's where I am with it. Yeah, even if you go down swinging, that's one of the tenets to my mind. One of the tenets of self defense. Even if you lose, they got to recalculate.
Yeah.
And if sometimes you win, sometimes you lose, sometimes you tie. But the only way you absolutely totally lose is by not fighting. Again, you don't need to fight. Let's straighten it out. You don't need to fight everybody. We're talking about rhetorical fights in this regard, and politics and such, and diplomacy. Sometimes you just have to enter the fight. Win, lose, or draw, you're going to gain something from it. Just the fact that they know you're willing to fight changes their calculation, and that's important. Very important.
That was great wisdom.
Thank you. Great family, great martial arts teacher. Great guy. All right, so let's. I think we got everything we need. I'll talk to you in a few minutes about Ron Crumpton and his uphill battle. But you have any last words? I'd like to give my guests the last word.
Well, I guess my last words would be to the people watching. It's time for representation, and that's just not someone to say I'm your congressman. We need people to actually do the work. To say I'm your congressman without corresponding action is just a group of words. I'm prepared and have been prepared to, continue to serve my country, and it's an honor. It's not a task at all.
That's great. That's great. All right, it's not a task at all. I like that. I'm gonna write that down. I'm stealing
it. A lot of people look at it, man, it's hard to run for office. Well, yeah, it's hard to run for office, but what's harder is to identify the enemy when you're in combat. So to come home and to know that we have problems that we have to fix, but we're all Americans. We can agree to disagree, but at the end of the day, the objective is to make sure that we bring representation to the masses.
Absolutely. All right. Well, I'm not going to take up any more of your time. I'm gonna, if you don't mind, stick around for a second after I cut this off and say my goodbyes.
Okay.
Let me say my spiel. All right. This has been the Louisa Project 2027. Our interview with Jesse T. Smith, running for the 3rd Congressional District of Alabama. Obviously, it's an uphill battle, but progressives, that's what we do. We fight, win, lose, or draw. This was a great interview. I'm extremely thankful for Mr. Smith taking time out of his busy schedule to talk to me and talk to us. Thank you very much. And I guess that's it for me. All right, folks, that's it. Anything else from you, Mr. Smith?
Hey, thank you for having me on. I really appreciate it, and I look forward to future endeavors.
Absolutely. And I'm going to pass your name around to the rest of the Progressive Army and Benjamin Dixon team. Hopefully we can get you on with the rest of them too, especially Anoa and Ben. and I'm sure Nick is gonna want to pick your brain along with Nis and Richard. But see if you can make the rounds, get you some free press, and get those great ideas out there.
Let's do it.
All right, good. All right, I'm gonna kill the broadcast, and we'll talk for a few minutes afterward.
Months now has begun.